Paul Duncan will speak more about how we achieved that. We also want to acknowledge the context of this year's count. If you notice, our firefighters are going to be at the table with us. It took place in January, late January, and as we all remember, our region was experiencing major wildfires burning across Los Angeles County. Many families were displaced, and many came here to Long Beach during that period of time. We're really proud that our community stepped up. Our firefighters, our fire department, our police officers stepped up in that response, but so did our public health department, our hotels, and the support that we have. So in a moment, Chief Buchanan will talk a little bit about the fire response, the thousands impacted, and how our community rallied to support them. So today, as we walk through the numbers and we're focused on what they represent, the key takeaway, more people are coming inside, fewer people outside, and our community is working together to do the work. With that, I'll invite Paul Duncan and Chief Buchanan to talk to us a little bit about this year's point-in-time count and the impact of the fires. Paul, you're up.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So, as the Mayor said, our count happened on January 23rd. That was a little over 2 weeks after both the Palisades and Eaton Canyon fire had started. It was still happening at that time, so we saw lots of impacts happening in those moments. At the same time, the city of Long Beach is one of the augmented weather shelter sites for the county of Los Angeles. So throughout the emergency response to the fire, we were activated in response with the county, providing additional beds, knowing that air quality was poor at the time. There were a lot of different things happening, so part of our response, and when we looked at it, we determined it would be best for us to add a question into our homeless count, asking people if they were experiencing homelessness in Long Beach due to being displaced from the fires. So that is one thing that we added, knowing what was happening at that moment. And I'll pass it over to Chief Buchanan.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Good afternoon, everyone. Fire Chief Dennis Buchanan with the Long Beach Fire Department. It's a pleasure to be here. As we know, let me take a moment to reflect on these two historical and horrific fires we experienced in the beginning of the year. The Palisades fire and the Eaton fire that affected the Pacific Palisades and the Altadena area there. These are fast-moving fires that displaced lots of families, destroyed neighborhoods, and families were impacted. Homes were destroyed. But as we know, the community came together, and the firefighter crews worked around the clock. As you witnessed in the news, intense heat. These fires were fueled by extremely dry brush, powerful winds, and in those hazardous conditions, you saw the resilience of our first responders. They all came together, not only local first responders, but state and federal agencies and supporting agencies. What you also saw was the community come together. Despite the destruction, neighbors help each other. And you saw local organizations mobilize quickly to provide that help. Just like the city of Long Beach, we're out here to help everybody and to help the region. This is the type of incident that you saw the community resilience, right? Everybody coming together when it matters. And I'm proud of all the outstanding work from our local responders and all public safety departments to mitigate these incidents. With that, I'll pass it over to the Mayor.
All right, thank you. So, Paul, let's now take a deeper dive into the numbers. So, what can you tell us about this report? And then, we'll go a little bit deeper into some of our strategies around the river and encampment resolution downtown.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So, before jumping into the numbers, just want to acknowledge that conducting a homeless count is a very complex and challenging task to undertake. Doing it every year takes a lot of time from staff as well as commitment from volunteers. And each year we take efforts to try to improve our process, get more people involved, and ensure that we're getting as accurate of a count as we can. So we had a record number of volunteers this year with over 300 volunteers, 70 plus people that led teams out in the field, staff that took time to do specialized counts in harder to reach areas where we didn't necessarily want to send out volunteers. And then a special shout out to Stephen Pearl, who is our project manager over the count, Dalton Dorr, who helped in analyzing the data, and DrawTap, who provided technical assistance that allowed us to collect the data and process it in a more timely manner. So that sets a little context for, what it takes to do the count. What we saw within this year's count is we saw 3,595 people experiencing homelessness. This is an increase of 219 people, representing 6.5% of an increase from 2024 to 2025. As discussed a little bit ago, we did add that question in around displacement from the fire, and what we found was it was a pretty significant impact, with 167 people identifying that they had been displaced due to the fires and were now experiencing homelessness here in Long Beach. This represented 76% of the 6.5% increase to our count. If you were to take that out, we are seeing that our overall count is about a 1.5% increase.
So just quickly, I want to acknowledge those volunteers that came out, those 300 people who came out, because it was poor air quality conditions, but we also want to acknowledge what the chief just said. Thank you so much for acknowledging. Sometimes we think about the response, the front for our first responders, 10 fire crews that responded, the 50 firefighters, the 30 police officers who responded, but there was also a response here on the ground in Long Beach in terms of safe parking and some of the resources that were deployed, reduced costs on hotel rooms. And so we want to thank the community for being a part of that effort. So as you go into it, I want you to just take a minute. It says welcome home. We're here at Project Room Key, and I think that's an important part of the story of how we got to this place where more people are coming inside. Can you just take a moment and talk about this facility at Project Room Key and where it fits in the greater context of expanding shelter?
Sure. In the early pandemic, there was funding that came in through FEMA that allowed for us to quickly mobilize. We leased a lot of hotels, and then a little bit later into the pandemic, the state, using both state and federal funds, put out funding opportunities to purchase and convert hotels. So in 2021, we were able to purchase this hotel and since have converted it into operating as a non-congregate shelter for people. The room that we're now in is newly finished. Really, we were able to bring in some additional funding and convert the site so that it looks more conducive to the operations of a shelter. We have roughly 97 rooms within this facility, and those are prioritized for people that are older adults, as well as those with chronic health conditions, in some cases terminally ill individuals. So this is really a spot for some of our more vulnerable people experiencing homelessness.
Before we move on, this was a big year also for the downtown encampment resolution. And so that program is coming to an end. What's our plan around the downtown encampment resolution, the Vagabond Inn, and our plan for the new encampment resolution focused on the LA riverbed?
Sure. So the City of Long Beach has now been awarded 3 different rounds of encampment resolution. Our first one focusing on the MacArthur Park area. The one that we're in the middle of within the second round was focused on the downtown area, including Billie Jean King Library and Lincoln Park. As part of that, we master leased the Vagabond Inn, which just wrapped up operations at the end of last week, which was our non-congregate shelter, offering 60 rooms to people. We were able to see a good amount of success within that, wrapping up last week. So over the final month, we had a big push on making sure we had offers and plans for everybody. We saw 20 people move to other non-congregate shelters, as well as motels, including the site itself with open rooms. We had 8 people take up congregate shelter, 16 people moved to permanent housing, and then a few other smaller locations, and saw 9 people that unfortunately didn't want to engage in plans and have returned to homelessness, but overall saw the large majority of people find options and move into successful placement. So our next round, which will kick off later this summer, is Encampment Resolution Round 3 funding, focused in on the LA riverbed. We're going to take a similar approach with looking for a hotel or motel that we can lease, providing non-congregate shelter while we engage with people, additional permanent housing resources, including rapid rehousing, prioritization of vouchers, setting aside some rooms at a soon-to-open shelter that we're working on through Project Home Key as well. And then the county will also be prioritizing a number of their non-congregate encampment resolution beds as they turn over here in Long Beach. So those will work together with our goal to get as many people. So we know that it's going to take time, but this will bring resources that will see an immediate impact, not necessarily complete solution, while we focus over the next 2 years on working to get as many people off the LA riverbed as possible.
That's great. So I know in just this summer and coming up throughout this year, and we'll talk a little bit about this later with Eric, but I believe we have about 200 more beds coming online that were not available before, including some youth opportunities. So without getting into it too much, how is that going to factor into our strategy to bring people inside?
Yeah, one thing that we saw as a positive this year was a reduction in chronic homelessness, as well as an increase in the number of chronically homeless individuals that were sheltered, reflected in our report. So the former Luxury Inn, which is up off 710 and Long Beach Boulevard, will open later this summer as well. That'll provide us 78 additional rooms focused on people that have been chronically homeless. We'll have the 12 youth navigation center beds that had been talked about that will open up later this month. And then we are working on some other sheltering opportunities, including the build out of 702 West Anaheim, which was purchased during the emergency. That'll add an additional 40 beds, as well as some other conversations coming along. The county is also opening up their 2 Project Home Key sites that they converted into supportive housing for people. Those will open up over the next couple months as well, providing opportunities for an additional 170 units of permanent supportive housing.
Well, thank you to you and your team for your incredible work, and I know there's a whole lot more work to do. It sounds like we full schedule. We're a public health city with our own public health department who's been committed to this for very long. I'm going to ask our Director of Public Health Department, Allison King, to weigh in. Tell us about the role that emergency vouchers have played in this effort.
Emergency housing vouchers were committed by HUD to us in 2022 when we began the actual lease up in 2023 as a result of funding received. It allowed us to reach out to our most vulnerable and chronically homeless clients. We were given an allocation of 582 of those vouchers, and that was our strategy to address these families during a time when rents were high and people were ordered to stay in place. Currently, we have about 530 families that still remain on those vouchers at this time.
So I know that there are changes federally, and this is a federal program for us. Is this program expected to end prematurely?
It is. The original commitment was 10 years. We knew that it was going to be a diminishing allocation because as each person leased up, we did not renew those vouchers, and that was the directive provided. So we expected the numbers to go down, but we were advised several months ago via executive order that the funding would cease as of December 31st of 2025. So we are going to have families who will be at risk of losing the stable housing that they have been provided.
So it's my understanding, as the program ends, as people move out of those units, that voucher won't be available for future families. So over time, there will be attrition, and we will have to find new ways to support those those individuals who otherwise would have had access to that voucher opportunity. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
Those persons will be at risk of losing housing. We have not been given additional funding, and what is being proposed is a 42% reduction in subsidized housing, and we may be able to, extend some for a period, but we have not been promised any additional funding. And that could put those persons at risk, as well as it will slow down our capacity to bring on new people to the program.
So this program has been critical for us. I think it's important for our federal representatives to know that we need to keep working at this issue, because many families do depend on the emergency voucher program, and is a top priority for us in Long Beach. So I want to go to Dalton. So there's been a lot of talk about our outreach efforts and our prevention strategies and the shelter that we've deployed. And the city of Long Beach has more shelter than it's ever had in any point in its time in its history, with 200 more beds coming online in the coming months. So if we have more shelter and we're doing more outreach, and the data shows that more and more people are coming off the street and coming out of homelessness, then how do we still see a flat amount of homelessness? And hypothetically, if we slowed down the inflow of people becoming homeless, what would that look like? How long would it take to actually eliminate homelessness in our city?
Yeah, so I think what you're bringing up is the idea and the notion that homelessness is not simply a year-to-year data point that we're
Right.
looking at. It is a flow of individuals that are housed and taken out of homelessness, and then individuals who then find themselves in homelessness. And so to answer your question of if no new people became homeless in the city of Long Beach, given our current trend of housing individuals, we would be net zero. We would have no individuals experiencing homelessness within 2 years, given the rate at which we're able to place people in housing. And so, yes, we are bringing more beds online. We're bringing more people off the streets, and I think that's represented in the data that we're showing today.
Great. So that's important to note on this chart. Homelessness year by year. If no one had become newly homeless, we'd achieve net zero this year, 2025. So this demonstrates, although you do the work of pulling people out of homelessness, we have to place, as a region, just as large of a focus, as great of a focus on prevention and keeping folks from slipping into homelessness. Thank you so much, Dalton. Okay, so Deputy City Manager Teresa Chandler is with us. And I want to talk more about this conversation about prevention and our citywide approach, because ultimately we'd like to see that. We'd like to see a comprehensive network where you address inflow and ultimately achieve net zero on homelessness. So what are we doing collectively? What's our citywide response?
Thank you. It's a great question. We have an amazing citywide response. So the health department has been our active body, our active department who responds, who has active services, but it really takes a whole village to do this work, as you know, and all of the departments that are represented at this table and more, from our police department, our fire department, our health department, community development, public works, our libraries, our parks and recs, our city attorney, our city prosecutor. So everybody comes together in an interdepartmental space and coordinates on the ground, but also at a policy level. And so we bring information back to the council. We're working with our council offices. We're working with the community in order to do this, because we can't do it ourselves. And so it's really been a collaborative effort. And in the last year, we've actually created an Office of Homeless Strategy and Partnership under our city manager's office. And that is the body that is helping to connect the pieces across the city. And, you know, it's really like, you know, our executive leadership, we're talking about this ongoing, we're working together so close, and to our frontline staff who are out there every day doing the work, so.
Good, thank you. So with all this collaboration and response, why is prevention more important now than ever?
Well, prevention saves us money. So if we can keep people in their housing, then we don't have to do all these extra services, right? But we have a really strong net that catches people if they do fall into homelessness, if they do fall into hard times. And we know many families, I've got family members that are one paycheck away from falling into homelessness or falling on hard times. And so we want to make sure that we have that prevention in place. So if we can help people with their rent, if we can help people with their services, if we can connect people to, we look at the social determinants of health, if we can connect people to jobs, to healthcare, to mental health services, to support for addictions, all of those core services, all those things that all of us need to be successful in our lives, then we're going to save a lot of money in the long run, just to keep people in housing, and we just got to have more housing and shelter, right?
Absolutely, more housing and shelter. So I'm gonna go back to this side of the table, because what we've done is we've assembled all the people to talk about this topic. So, more housing, more shelter. Let's talk to our Director of Community Development Department. How are we doing on affordable housing production here in the city of Long Beach over the past few years?
Yeah, so Long Beach is a leader in housing, whether it's affordable housing, market rate housing. We brought hundreds of units of new housing, and that's permanent housing together last year. That's a partnership between Allison and myself and the whole city team to make that happen. That takes money, city money that we invest in those projects, federal money that we invest in those projects, state money, and then housing vouchers that helps make the operation of those. But we're not done. So we're here about the 1700 block of Long Beach Boulevard. If you pop your head out, look down the street, 1400 Long Beach Boulevard. We have a project, more than 100 units, well along the way in construction and coming along. Elsewhere, just here in downtown, 9th and Linden, we have more than 50 units coming soon. Partnership with a local church, builds in their parking lot, allows, a creative reuse of how we're thinking about our town. So whether it's PCH or Pacific or over on Fountain on the east side, all over the city, we're looking at housing opportunities, and those are big signature affordable projects, but we're also just building a lot of housing. So last year we set a record for housing starts, housing units approved, housing units completed. So we're doing great. Long Beach is not an island. We need all our neighbors to do great also, but we're very proud of the work we're doing on housing.
And I'm glad you mentioned that last point. We've had record housing starts the last 2 years, and we're going to see another great year this year on housing starts and affordable housing, but it is a regional discussion. I am proud that the region is now addressing affordable housing through La Casa and recently adopted Measure A, and I serve as chair of that LA County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency, so we look forward to making sure all 88 jurisdictions have the technical support and resources they need to build more housing at scale. I'm going to go over here to the police department. So so things have changed over the course of the past year. We know that the city of Long Beach, we went through great lengths to really think about grants passed and how we address enforcement and citations on chronic homelessness and safety. We understand there is a nexus here, and in many ways, we do have to address accountability and enforcement as well. How's the police department really thought about that balanced approach of ensuring that we do lead and have services to offer, but also address whatever crimes that may take place?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mike Solomine. I'm a deputy chief of the Long Beach Police Department. And really, our officers, specifically those officers assigned to the Quality of Life team, work very closely with every city department sitting here at the table. And our main objective is the same as everybody's here, which is to connect people to services. And that's what we work to do day in and day out. But as you mentioned, there is an option for enforcement when it's necessary.
When it's necessary.
And we do that, officers do that using discretion. And they consider the totality of the circumstances, and make a decision based on everything that's in front of them. But again, the objective is really connect people to services because that's really the best outcome for all of us.
And how do you connect people to services? How are you integrated into the citywide response?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our Quality of Life team goes out with the health department. We work to work with the multi-service center to explain to these individuals what's available to them, how we can help them, and then we assist the other departments by making that connection.
All right, great, thank you. We have our city manager here with us too. Tom, You just had a big presentation at City Council a couple weeks ago about early results after adopting this approach on balancing compassion with our approach to accountability. What are some top lines from that City Council report?
Sure thing. So that speaks to the balance, and again, Tom Modica, City Manager, that speaks to the balance of both a compassionate approach to homelessness and then also addressing some of the enforcement challenges that we see out there. And so some cities chose to not do anything after grants pass and leave operations the way they were, and some chose to really go only that direction. We did a balanced approach in the middle. So we lead with compassion. We know there's areas in need, and when we get those calls, we go out and we work those cases, and it'll be offering services, but then there's also the enforcement option at the same time. What the data shows is we picked 4 different priority focus areas. Really, these are public spaces where encampments have gotten to a point where it is depriving the public of use of those spaces. And so those were really a focus for us. We citywide over the last year have about 365 different areas where we've had enforcement happen, and about a little less than half happened in those priority focus areas, and the other half happened citywide. So about 53% happened citywide where officers have discretion. We reported on some pretty great results on those 4 focus areas, significant drop in homelessness and encampments around Billie Jean King and Lincoln Park, significant drop to almost zero, just about zero at Gumbiner, huge improvements at Vets Park, and about 20 people accepting services there and getting housed, and then big decreases at Jenny Rivera. And then, of course, the council was happy to see that it was not just in those 4 areas, but also tools available to us citywide.
Thank you. So, last person I'm going to call on before we get into questions is our Public Works Director, Eric Lopez. So, Eric, people may not think Public Works initially when they think about response to homelessness, but all this capacity that we've built in these past few years, just 5 years ago, we opened our very first citywide municipal homeless shelter, and today we have more units than we've ever had, with more coming online. Tell me a little bit about your role and the undertaking Public Works has had in building out shelter and what's on hand.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So Public Works, we not only manage the rights-of-way and assist with programs like the Clean Team, but we also build infrastructure. We build streets, we build libraries, we build public safety facilities, and we also get to help the health department and other departments to build homeless shelters. So this is a new area within the last few years. This is an area where you asked Public Works to really take a leadership role in bringing a project management approach to this issue.
That's right.
So we partnered with our city departments to find appropriate places to build these shelters, and we're sitting in one now. And here you have a complete renovation of this space and outdoor space, all levels, all floors to these buildings. We've done flooring, we've done lighting, we did the walls, we did the plumbing, the electrical, heating, air, ventilation, and then we've done specific improvements to the different rooms available. And that's through our Public Works project management teams. We have some really good project managers in this city, a really good group of private sector consultants that helped us with design and construction management as well. So not just here, but the former Luxury Inn and the new Youth Navigation Center. Those were all areas where Public Works is happy to come in, bring a project management approach, and really help create these spaces to address the issue that we're here talking about today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your important role. I know we have more work to do, and we look forward to opening the Youth Navigation Center and Luxury Inn and bringing more units online. We'll certainly put them to use. So we want to thank everyone for participating in today's presentation and our discussion. I think what's important is more people are inside today than they were last year and the year before. Fewer people are outside today. And this is a collective effort on behalf of community, multi-jurisdictional, multi-departmental. We have to do more to keep people in their homes. If we place a real focus in our region on prevention, we can continue to see progress. But I'm encouraged that more people are living inside and fewer people are outside. That leads to longer lives and better public health outcomes in our communities. And that is welcome news for our residents of our city, those who need help finding shelter in homes, and welcome news to everyone who does business or calls Long Beach home. And so at that point, I want to thank you all for participating, and we have time reserved now for Q&A. Any questions anybody might have?